Here we focus obviously a lot on the nervous system and the adjustments, but that's not all that encompasses in True Health. If you want to live an overall healthy life, we like to say you're kind of living the dream. What that stands for, if we're to write it out, D is for diet, R is for rest, E is for exercise, A is for adjustments, and M is for mental attitude. It's really important that you have every single one of them. If you have a good diet and exercising, but mentally you're stressed out and anxious and your nervous system is not functioning at its best, are you truly as healthy as you can be? Well, the answer is no. Tonight what we're focusing on is the D, or the diet. So my class tonight is called Power Nutrition. If you think back to hundreds of years ago or thousands of years ago to what humans were eating, our diet has drastically changed. We didn't have genetically modified food, there was no Monsanto, there weren't these pesticides. You didn't have to worry about what was real food and what was something that was cooked up in a lab. When you look at animals, their diets have stayed pretty much consistent over the course of the years. They eat real food, whether it was grown in the ground or it was other living animals. They don't have all this fake processed stuff that we're constantly consuming. One animal that I'm just going to focus on for a second is actually the chimpanzee. Chimpanzees are incredibly close to humans. We share 99.4% of the DNA sequence, which makes us more closely related to them than any two other animals are. They have their own language and can actually communicate with humans through American Sign Language, and they have the same blood ABO type of blood grouping. Throughout history, their health has stayed remarkably consistent, where humans, our health has declined. Which I think is kind of obvious to most people. If you look just in the United States, this shows a map of how much diabetes has increased. You can see, obviously the red is bad and the lighter white is the best from 1994 to 2000 to 2007, how much it has grown just in our own country. On top of that, the US ranks 50th for life expectancy with comparison to other countries, and over a quarter of adults are not only overweight but obese. So there's this big decline in human health. Could there be a link to our diets and having our change in our diet with the change in our human health? What I'm going to show is the comparison between the typical American, standard American or the SAD diet and a chimpanzee diet. If you were to take the American diet and split it up, it is over 50% rice, bread, potatoes, and pasta. You have a little sliver of veggies. People eat a little bit more fruit. And then there are a small sliver of oil. And then this is the animal protein. So that's what the standard American is eating. If you were to compare it to what the chimpanzee is eating with their diet, half of it is fruit. They have almost half of greens. And then they have a slither of insects and then seeds. So I'm not suggesting that we go out and eat insects. But see the difference? Everything that they eat is either grown from the ground or it's a living animal, where most of the stuff we eat is processed, and we're barely eating any fruits and vegetables. So could there be a link between our diet and our state of health? Before I go into more of the specifics about the standard American diet and what more ideally we're looking for, I want to start by defining a few things, because I really want to focus this class on greens, but a lot of people have misconceptions and they'll throw all vegetables in the same category, but that's not true. You need to define what the different types of vegetables are. When we're looking at greens, we're talking about kale, romaine lettuce, spinach, carrot tops. When we're talking about root vegetables, we're talking about carrots, beets, and turnips. Then there's the flowers, which are like your broccoli, your cauliflower, and your artichokes. And then you have your non-sweet fruit, which is like cucumbers, zucchini, squash, and tomatoes. You can't classify them all together. There's a lot of different nutrition-wise why they're separate, and also when you're combining foods, you need to be careful. If you were to pair a starchy vegetable with a fruit, it causes a lot of gas and bloating, and it can cause those unpleasant side effects which make people think that they don't like it, or their body doesn't respond, or it doesn't taste good, and then they won't eat it. Greens are one of the only food groups that can help digest other foods by stimulating those digestive enzymes, and therefore greens can be paired with any other fruit group. They are the primary fruit group that matches the human needs most completely, but they don't taste good to us. Who in this classroom has had any greens today? That's awesome. That's great, actually. Yay, I'm really proud of you guys. For most of us, we don't like the taste of greens anymore. Maybe not you guys, because you're all doing great, but a lot of people think that greens don't taste good. Why is that? Over the last couple years, our diets have changed. Like I was saying, we have all these processed foods, these new flavors. They're very stimulating, and we taste them, we really like it. So our bodies have adapted, and we don't like these natural tasting foods. We've gone more to these processed stimulating foods. But we really need to overcome these changes, these unnatural cravings. Once you start to eat more greens in your diet, you're more likely to like the taste of them, and then your like for the processed foods starts to go away. I was just actually talking earlier about how if you start at a younger age, the kids are more likely to like those greens because they don't taste anything else. Over the weekend, I was actually watching a TV show with my sister. She came back from Portland, Oregon, and I wouldn't normally watch this, but I wanted to see her. She was watching Toddlers and Tiaras. I don't know if anyone's seen that. And there was this girl, she was 3 years old, and she was running around, and she goes, "Mommy, I want my coffee black." It's like, oh my goodness, I don't even think I had coffee until I was 21. And the mom was like, "Oh, it's okay, because she's been having coffee since she was 9 months old." It's, oh my goodness, I almost turned the TV off, but I didn't, and I kept watching, and then she feeds her daughter Tinker Tea. Guess what's in Tinker Tea? It is sweetened iced tea, Mountain Dew, and pixie sticks. To which she justifies by saying, well, at least it's not fruit juice because fruit juice is 98% sugar. I wanted to smack myself and smack her. But that's the problem, is when we're starting kids young with these unnatural foods, they think that's what's good, they think that's what's healthy, and then they don't try to eat these natural foods that are better for them. So please don't feed your children Tinker Tea. I'm not here to sell you guys on any sort of diet. A lot of you guys might know I am a vegetarian. I've never had red meat in my life, but I'm not here to tell you that that's the way that you need to eat. I'm here to tell you what's good about greens. If you want to adapt those into your diet, that's awesome. But even if you're sitting here and you're like, all I eat is meat, I'm never going to eat anything green in my life, you can still get some stuff out of this class, because if you're eating meats, think about where those meats are coming from and what they're eating. Because what the nutrients that you're getting through those animals, they're getting through the foods they eat. So if you're eating a sheep or a cow that was raised on grains and oats, yes, they grow faster, but you're eating more fat and less muscle. Where if you're eating a cow or a sheep that was grass-fed, they grow slower, but it's more muscle and it's more quality muscle, and you're getting the nutrients through them that they got through the greens. So even if you don't want greens, think about where your meat's coming from. So the first thing I want to talk about is protein. Do greens have a lot of protein in them?
Yes.
Actually, they do. Yeah, everyone. Yeah, you guys are smart. I like this. They do have a lot of proteins in them. The thing about proteins is proteins are made up of amino acids. There are unessential amino acids and essential amino acids. The essential amino acids, we can't make them in our body, so we have to get them from the foods that we eat. The thing about them is there's 9 of them that you need, and for a protein you need a certain level of each of the amino acids. If you have a certain level of all and then one of them's down here, you can only make the amount of protein with that lowest level. So you need to make sure that you have a full amount of each amino acid in order to make a complete protein. When you're talking about meats and fish and dairy and stuff like that, you're eating complex proteins that are already made up. When you're eating them in the greens, they're those individual amino acids. So you need to be careful that you are getting a selection that has a high amount of all of them. That's why getting different types of greens into your diets are very important, because having a different rotation of the different ones can help make them completely. Although some of them, like kale, has all, if you were to eat a pound of kale, which does sound like a lot, but it's actually not that much. If you were to eat a pound of kale, it has all the essential amino acids you need in all of the levels except for tryptophan, in which it has 173 milligrams of the recommended 245. So it's pretty close to being complete by itself. Now, when you're eating the complex proteins from the meats, your body has to take time and energy to break down those proteins, separate into the amino acids, build it back up, and make a complete protein. Again, that takes a lot of time and energy, and if you don't have the things in your body necessary to break it down, you get a lot of undigested protein fragments that can circulate in your body and your bloodstream, and they can cause allergies and other health problems. Where if you're getting it from the plants, as long as you have enough of each amino acid, you're basically starting from the bottom and building it up. It doesn't take as much time, it doesn't take as much energy, and you don't have undigested protein fragments in your blood. Incompletely digested protein fragments may be absorbed into the bloodstream. The absorption of these large molecules contributes to the development of food allergies and immunological disorders. On the other hand, if you don't get enough of the essential amino acids, you get a protein deficiency. These protein deficiencies, they can decrease the neurotransmitter production, which is basically how your brain cells talk to each other, and that governs your emotions, your memories, behavior, learning ability, and sleep patterns. And over the last 3 decades, a lot of focus on mental health has been these neurotransmitter production and the amino acids that help support that. Specifically, with the amino acids tyrosine and phenylalanine, if you don't have enough of those, it can cause depression, lack of focus and concentration, lack of energy, ADD, and can cause you to crave caffeine, starch, alcohol, chocolate, marijuana, and tobacco. So all these unnatural cravings. A lot of people, when they think about greens and about vegetables and fruits, one of the main things that we think of is the fiber that they help supply. The main purpose of consuming fiber is elimination. Your colon in your body is basically like a human sewage system. All of the toxins from every part of your body, it winds up in your colon, including the millions of dead cells that your body is constantly turning over. And you need to be able to get rid of it because it's basically just poison sitting there. And if you fill up with the fiber, that's what helps eliminate those toxins and those poisons and those chemicals from your body. A lot of people recently have been focusing on fiber as a cleansing program. So any cleansing program should begin in the colon. In the 50 years I've spent helping people overcome illness, disability, and disease, it has become crystal clear that poor bowel management lies at the root of most people's health problems. And in treating over 300,000 patients, it is the bowel that invariably has to be cared for first before any effective healing can take place. So it's really, really important. Now, when we're talking about fiber, there are 2 different kinds. There's the soluble fiber and the insoluble fiber. With soluble fiber, what that helps do is it helps bind together the cholesterol in the small intestines and take it out of the body. It helps also slow down the release of sugars from the foods, and therefore it can decrease your diabetes risk. You find this in the pectin like in apples, or in guar gums like in chia seeds, oatmeal, and legumes. This has a jelly consistency that helps increase the bulk in your bowel movements to help get all those toxins out of your body. The other type of fiber is the insoluble fiber. That's what you find mainly in greens, nuts, beans, and in the husks of grains. The insoluble fiber, if you were to look at it under the microscope, it looks like a sponge. And it serves as a sponge because it can soak up so much more toxins than its actual size, because like spongy, it has all those little divots in it, and it's not smooth, it's more fibrous. So it grabs those toxins and helps get it out of the body. Without fiber, again, the waste accumulates in the body towards the colon. You get it again from inhaling the dust and asbestos in the air, undigested foods, ingesting heavy metals and pesticides, but mainly it's a lot of those dead cells from your body. You should be passing out between 70 and 100 pounds of dead cells every single year. Yeah, so if you're not doing that, that can be one of the most toxic wastes for your body because it just sits there and it starts to rot immediately. So without adequate fiber, we accumulate more than we can handle, but our body doesn't want to give up. Our bodies are so smart. I know we tell you that over and over again, and it's true. So if it's not going to go out that way, it's going to go out another way. And what happens is your skin starts to take on the eliminating job next. You start to get the bumpy skin, rashes, acne, because you're trying to get those toxins out through the skin. You start to excrete more mucus through your eyes, your nose, you get coughs, runny nose, and you start to sweat more, all in your body's attempt to just get this out of me. Some of the health benefits of fiber are, there's a whole list here, but it helps strengthen a diseased heart, lower cholesterol, prevent cancer, lowers diabetes risk, strengthens your immune system, keeps the bowels healthy. promotes healthy intestinal bacteria, can prevent ulcers, and help lose weight. So when you're thinking about fiber, how much fiber should you be eating every day? When we're talking about wild chimpanzees, they eat over 200 grams a day, which is a lot. If you're talking about the indigenous human, we used to eat about 150 grams a day, versus the average American, we eat 10 to 15 grams a day. So it's a pretty big shift. The USDA does recommend about 30 grams a day, but that is a minimum. It's not saying that's maximum. You eat more and bad things are going to happen. That you need to eat at least 30 grams a day. However, it's really important that that shift is gradual. If you're eating 10 grams a day and then next week you're like, I'm going to eat 100 grams, you're going to get some unpleasant side effects. So make sure everything happens very, very slowly.
Can you say cleansing?
Cleansing. Yeah, you're like, get this out. It is funny. So just to have an idea about how much fiber are in foods that you might eat every day, one medium apple, banana, or mango is about 3 grams versus a handful of kale or chard is about 1 gram. So this is just something to throw out there. I'm not saying it's true or not, but just to think about it. If you think about animals, they stay about the same. They look about the same throughout their entire life until about a couple weeks before they die. Then you really start to see the effects of aging. The hair is graying, they start to wrinkle a little. Whereas humans, we start to age, well, some people start getting gray hair at 20, some 60, some 80. It's variable, but my point is that animals don't start showing those signs of aging until right before they die, where we start years and years in advance. So could our diets have something to do with it? Maybe. I don't know if that's funny, but
She gets it great.
So next I was going to talk about stomach acid versus blood acidity. And I actually sort of jumped ahead there. You can read that if you want. Stomach acid and blood acid are not the same thing. Having a high stomach acid is good. Having a high blood acidity level is not good. Stomach acid is hydrochloric acid, and that's the only acid that our body produces. All other acids are byproducts of metabolism, and we want to get rid of them as soon as possible. Again, stomach acid, it helps break down those large protein molecules, and without it, those protein fragments, they go through the bloods and again cause those immunological and allergy disorders. As we get older, the levels of acid in our stomach decreases, but we can decrease it faster by having too much food, chemical stress excess. Specifically with the overeating, if you have too much fats or proteins, they help wear out the parietal cells in the stomach, and that's where that hydrochloric acid comes from. So with in order to properly digest foods in your stomach, you need proper chewing and you need proper hydrochloric acid levels. You need to get the pieces chewed down to as little as about 1 to 2 millimeters or 0.04 to 0.08 inches. So when they tell you to chew your food, 20 times before you swallow, you want to make sure your food is a creamy consistency or it can cause other problems. With the hydrochloric acid, you want it to be a pH somewhere between 1 and 3 or 3.5 depending on the sources that you're eating, but ideally you want it around a pH of 2. With these two things together, that's what's essential for completely digesting the nutrients fully. Without them, you can get unpleasant signs of indigestion. So a lot of people think they have high stomach acid because they'll get these signs of heartburn, but really they're actually having low stomach acid because if you're not able to properly break down your food, the food starts to, you have inappropriate release of the acid. So it seems like it's too much, but it's just coming at the wrong time. And your food starts to putrefy. What that means is when you have organic matter like a body, we'll actually not be that depressing. We'll talk about like a squirrel or something, and a squirrel dies and it starts to break down. It goes through these decomposition phases, and that's what's going in your stomach if you're not able to break it down properly. And then those stomach contents will go reflux up and cause those signs of gas, bloating, heartburn, and belching. You can take an antacid, that's a temporary relief, but just like we tell you guys about aspirins and your aches and pains, it's not fixing the problem, it's just going to make you feel better for a little bit. Raw fruits and vegetables do have some of the most valuable nutrients in them, but they're really hard to digest because they have this tough cellulose structure around them. So it's really important to chew that food to a creamy consistency, or if you're not wanting to chew that much, you could do something like blending and making smoothies, like green smoothies. I have a green smoothie every morning, and I just personal testimonial, ever since Dr. Sam and Steph know, I am not a morning person, like not at all. But in the last couple months, I'd say I'm a lot more peppy in the morning because I'm eating these smoothies. Okay, he's like, yeah. And I feel more peppy. Maybe I'm not. But you know, you're lighter, you're energized, and you feel refreshed, and it's really, really great. You're getting those nutrients, and your body's like, yes, I'm healthy, and this is the right thing to do. The cooking will make the food softer and easier to digest, but it does kill a lot of the nutrients in that cooking process. So with low stomach acid, this list that's been up there, again, there's a lot of things on there, but it can cause bacterial overgrowth, parasites, multiple sclerosis, asthma, depression, diabetes, flatulence. There's a whole list. And again, without it, those nutritional deficiencies do lead to those diseases. So if you're wondering if you have signs of low stomach acid, here are just a couple of questions that you can answer. You don't have to answer them out loud, but it's, do you ever have bloating, belching, or flatulence immediately after meals? Do you have indigestion, diarrhea, or constipation? Do you feel soreness, burning, or dryness of the mouth? Do you have heartburn? Do you have multiple food allergies? Do you feel nauseous after taking supplements? Do you experience rectal itching? Do you have weak peeling and or cracked fingernails? Do you have redness or dilated blood vessels in the cheeks or nose? Do you have adult acne? With women, do you have hair loss? Do you have an iron deficiency, undigested food in the stools, chronic yeast infections, or low tolerance for dentures? You can answer these yes, sometimes, or no, and even if you have only a couple of them in the sometimes column, you might have low stomach acid, so just something to think about. There was this study called the Roseberg study. They studied 24 people that had low stomach acid, and they added 1 quart of green smoothies to their standard diet. They asked them not to change anything else. And in just a couple months, 16 of them showed improvement with only adding greens and, again, not changing anything else. So that's pretty huge. That's 2/3. Other noticeable health changes were they had increased energy, decreased depression and suicidal thoughts, decreased blood sugar fluctuation, more regular bowel movements, dandruff cleared up, decreased insomnia, asthma attacks, PMS, stronger fingernails, less coffee cravings, increased sex life, and clearer skin. So eating these greens, they really can affect all different aspects of your life. Now, again, I had said stomach acid is good, blood acid is bad. In your blood, the pH goes from 0, which is acidic, to 14, which is alkaline. You want your blood to be somewhere between 6.8 and 7.8, with ideally it being 7.4, which is slightly alkaline. Acidic conditions, which are without oxygen, that's really bad for the body. Dr. Otto Warburg won the Nobel Peace Prize in 1931 for showing that cancer thrives in anaerobic or without oxygen conditions. So one of the main causes of cancer is the acidity conditions in the human body. For optimal health, we need 80 to 85% of the good bacteria in our intestines, and they can help make a lot of the essential nutrients for the body, such as vitamin K, B vitamins, and other helpful enzymes. They thrive in the presence of oxygen. With less oxygen, there's more of the bad bacteria, and in fact, you can have 80 to 90% bad bacteria in your intestines. And that fills our body up with acidic waste, so it's really important that we watch what we eat. Eating high acidic food causes us to gain weight, and it can also cause us to create fat cells in our body to store that extra acid. We can have increased acidity not only by what we eat, but also by stress, from traffic jams, overworking, loud music, but you can also do the opposite. You can make your body more alkaline by eating more alkaline foods, listening to calming stuff, laughing, hugs, smiling. And for an idea of what alkaline versus acid foods are, with acidic, you're looking more carbonated water, popcorns, cheeses, distilled waters, coffees, sweetened fruit juice, beef, white bread, eggs. That's all on the acid side. On the alkaline side, we're looking at spinach, broccoli, artichokes, kale, onion, avocados, bananas. You're kind of seeing a theme here. Stuff from the earth tends to be more alkaline, and stuff that's processed tends to be more acidic. That's just sort of a basic what to go for. And one of the things that I think surprises people are that are things like lemons that seem acidic are actually one of the most alkaline things for your bodies. So just because it tastes like it should be an acid doesn't mean it is. Mainly things that grow from the ground are very alkaline and good for our bodies. One of the last things about the greens are greens contain something called chlorophyll. I like to think of chlorophyll as like liquid sunshine. It just sounds really nice. It's very similar to the heme molecule in our blood, and it helps cleanse and heal a lot of our internal organs and destroy a lot of the enemies such as the bacteria, fungi, and cancer cells. It helps carry a lot of oxygen with it, like we just talked about, was really good for those good bacteria. Some of the healing contents of chlorophyll, I'm not going to read them all, there's a whole list here. Builds a higher red blood cell count, helps prevent cancer, provides iron to organs, and can make the body more alkaline. Greens are a major source of the chlorophyll, and they're one of the most alkalizing foods on the planet. They have a high oxygen content from the chlorophyll and a high mineral content. If we were to focus just on a wheatgrass juice, it has 70% chlorophyll, it has 92 of the 102 minerals in the human body, beta-carotene, B vitamins, vitamins C, E, H, and K, and 19 of the amino acids and other enzymes. So wheatgrass is a really awesome kind of superfood, but with stuff like that you have to be really careful, again, with moderation, because it has such a high mineral content, if you were to just start chugging a lot of it, most people are going to get very nauseous because you're not used to handling such a high mineral content. And possibly you could be better able to handle that if you had a higher stomach acid. So, all things are made the way they are on purpose for survival. Plants are just perfectly, just like our human bodies, everything we do is for a reason. With plants, they make their fruits colorful and sweet, so the animals and the insects, they're attracted to them. So if an animal comes and eats an apple or a berry, it's going to take it somewhere and eat it else. And then either discard the seed or pass the seed through it, and then that seed is moved to another animal or another area in the forest, and so the plant is able to survive and spread and keep going. When you're talking about these genetically modified foods, these plants, they have no will to reproduce to spread and because they're sick. So their fruits, although they're big and shiny and perfect, they're not that natural color. They don't taste as good. They don't have that ambition to spread, and then they don't have a good smell either. Plants don't want you eating all of their leaves either, because if you eat all their leaves, they're going to die. So all the leaves actually have a little bit of alkaloids in them, which is a poison. Now, before people get a little, oh my goodness, there's poisons in greens, I can't eat them. It's a very, very small amount. If you were to just sit and eat only one kind, and I'm talking like large amounts, yes, you would get sick, but that's why they do it, so you're forced to rotate your amount. If you eat these little bits, it's actually going to strengthen your immune system. Again, if you're eating large amounts, like bundles and bundles a day, I'd recommend doing at least 7 different kinds. I personally rotate through 5 different kinds myself, but I eat a lot more than the average American, which I feel like I still could eat more. Everyone can always do better, I think. But ideally, if you're eating large amounts, try to rotate through 7 different kinds. Living things, we have the enemy to repair ourselves and adapt to the changes in our environment, and that's the ability of living organisms to repair ourselves. It's the only power that can heal all illnesses. So while it's great to focus on diet and try to live optimally through that, you can't focus just on that. If you're thinking about food, how long can you go without eating food? Yeah, a week or 2, maybe. Then without water, you could go maybe a couple days, yeah. Without oxygen, go a couple minutes, some longer than others. But without your nervous system, if you get your brain cut off from your body, you're dead instantly. So even though it's really important to have the good nutrition and the good water, exercise, all of that stuff, without your nervous system working, you're not going to be living. So it's really, really important to take care of it, because it's the only one you get. There's no spine transplant, there's no nervous system transplant. You have the one that you're working with, and that's all you got. So after a class like tonight, a lot of information we went over. If there is anyone that pops into mind that you think could really benefit from some of this information, or want to talk to us, invite them to a class, invite them to get checked, or more importantly, just think of them, because there's really something powerful about just putting that intention and that thought out there. Before I let all of you guys go for the night, I just wanted to point out 2 things. One is we have a bunch of different wellness supplements over here that if you guys have any questions about them, on your next appointment, just let us know if you wanted a couple extra minutes to go over them, and we can sit down and talk to you about which one would work specifically for you, because they are designed for different people, different body types, activity levels, diets, things like that. So let us know. And then I wanted to just pass out some of these. It has some information about some of the protein amino acid contents in greens, and it also has 3 sample recipes of smoothies, which is a really quick, easy way to get greens and those nutrients in your diet. So we're gonna pass these out, and if you guys have any questions, you can hang around and ask me. Other than that, have a great night.
And please take Madison's